Hey guys, welcome back into Rover Sports again. Rover Sports, the show here. And I wanted to talk about the Vikings and Kirk Cousins signing there on a 3-year deal, all guaranteed cash, $28 million deal for Kirk Cousins, and I think it's a very good contract for the Minnesota Vikings. It's about the same amount of money as Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo. Kirk Cousins has proved just as much as Matt Stafford. I know Stafford had all those comebacks, but Kirk Cousins is a quarterback that is very, very skilled. And the reason he didn't succeed in Washington a lot was because he never really had a great running back with him. Like Matt Jones was okay. Alfred Morris during his first year was a very good running back, an undrafted guy with Robert Griffin III. But Kirk Cousins, I know he had Jordan Reed. He did have Deshaun Jackson. And he did have Pierre Garçon for a pretty good portion of his career, and Jay Gruden was a decent offensive coach. But the thing in Washington is that they're always known to pay big money for high-profile free agents. And when you look at Kirkland and you look at Kirk Cousins, he's a guy that, honestly, even though he's only started one playoff game and he struggled against the Green Bay Packers, he is a guy that I believe has a lot of ability. He has a lot more ability than Case Keenum. He can push the ball down the field. He can throw it touch. He can put it anywhere he needs to put it. And Kirk Cousins, I believe, is a very, very good quarterback. And when I look at Kirk Cousins, I think that he is definitely worth this $28 million. He would have gotten even more from the New York Jets. The Jets were ready to pay him $32 million. And I believe that the Denver Broncos would have paid him just as much as well. And when you look at Kirk, he's a winner. He prepares well. He's a guy that will fit right in with a veteran locker room core. He gets the ball out of his hands, very good footwork, and he improves every year. He's a tireless worker, and he has a huge upside. In big games, Kirk Cousins steps up, like against the Saints this past year, a marquee game at 1 o'clock. He led the Redskins to, I believe, a 31-17 lead. He lit up a very talented Saints defense. He's a guy that even in that Giants game on Thanksgiving, he was able to convert. Now, I know that he struggled in the Giants game 2 years ago to get to a playoff game. I know that the Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys, he was very decent as well. He takes what the defense gives you. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. He's responsible, and he's also a guy that can push it down the field. He's not afraid to take and make the big throw. He has a lot more ability than Case Keenum, a lot more ability than McCown or Teddy Bridgewater or any other quarterbacks on the market. There is no quarterback that the Minnesota Vikings could have gotten that could step in from day one this year and be this successful. At the top of the draft, if they drafted Josh Rosen, you don't know what personality you're getting. Same with Baker Mayfield. Kirk Cousins has a respected track record across the NFL. And that's why a lot of guys were in hot pursuit of Kirk Cousins. Von Miller wanted Kirk Cousins. The Jets were out recruiting him. Guys like Patrick Peterson and David Johnson and the Cardinals, they know in the NFC and around the league what type of quality starter Kirk Cousins is. He throws with touch. And the thing is about Kirk Cousins is that he was under a franchise that was led by Dan Snyder, who really doesn't have any idea how to run a franchise. He's overpaying guys like Josh Norman. The Terrell Pryor decision looks like a disaster. And Kirk Cousins made Jordan Reed very good. He made Jamison Crowder a ton of money in the slot. Matt Jones, he was very effective in giving the ball out to Chris Thompson, so Dalvin Cook will be utilized. Logan Paulson was utilized by Kirk Cousins. And also, Josh Doxson, a guy who was totally hurt. Everybody forgot about the TCU wide receiver. Kirk Cousins made him good. Kyle Rudolph right now is finally going to achieve his full potential. Adam Thielen's going to be running curl routes, and Kirk Cousins going to utilize Thielen very well. Stephon Diggs is a guy that, playing with Bradford, had a couple of good games, and with Case Keenum did okay. But now he will be a more consistent wide receiver with Kirk Cousins. There is no other quarterback that the Vikings could have gotten that is this consistent. And $28 million is around the same ballpark as Derek Carr, who had one very good season but had a down year last year. It's around the same amount of money as Matt Stafford, who's an 8-8 quarterback that is chronically coming back. And he's a guy also that has never, ever won a playoff game, but yet somehow the narrative on him, because he plays in a small Detroit market, people look at Matt Stafford in a whole nother light than Kirk Cousins. Matt Stafford has a huge arm, and he never really utilizes his ability to make, big level throws. He's a guy that should take more chances down the field than he does, but that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is that the Minnesota Vikings made some great decisive moves. Rick Spielman, cutting Bridgewater, cutting Case Keenum, who they knew they had an expiration date with, and finally they got Kirk Cousins, and now they're a team that is poised to make a deep run into these playoffs. If they don't make the NFC Championship, I believe, will that be a failure? Well, you look at the Saints, they're going to be a very good team. We look at the San Francisco 49ers. They're rapidly improving. The Rams are improving. The Eagles might be back there. The Giants might get back there. The Panthers, it's competitive as hell. But if the Vikings can win the NFC North again, and Kirk Cousins is a solid producer there, and they get to 11 and 12 wins by winning the North, I think that then he will be quite a success. I really do. And then we'll see how he does in the playoffs. I think that'll do fairly well. The competition's very tough. Garoppolo is one tough dude to beat in the playoffs. I mean, Garoppolo wasn't a factor last year. You look at the Saints game, Case Keenum shouldn't have won that game. So the Vikings should have lost in the divisional round, and instead Kirk Cousins and the expectation are raised even higher this year. But the point is that a couple of people are saying is, why are you paying $28 million for a guy that's only played in one playoff game and lost, is not looking at how inept Washington was on the defensive side of the ball, the chaos in the organization between Shanahan, Jay Gruden, and Dan Snyder not committing to Cousins for a long time. And I know Kirk struggled against the Giants 2 years ago, but that was a very good Giants defense, like one of the top 3 in the league. That's when Collins was healthy. DRC before that game was very healthy. Vernon and Pierre-Paul were playing in the prime of their careers, and the Giants defense was good enough 2 years to win a championship. So for Minnesota, this is a huge win. I love the move to get Kirk Cousins. You didn't overpay a cent for him. In fact, you got him $4 million cheaper per year than the Jets and Broncos were willing to pay. They were willing to pay $32 million a year. Good on Kirk Cousins. You did your job, Kirk. You went to a place that has great structure. You now get to be with guys like Robeson. Terrence Newman might still be there next year. Everson Griffin. Harrison Smith. Your defense is loaded with Edwards as your defensive coordinator, okay? Then you get John DeFilippo, a great offensive coordinator. Kyle Rudolph, one of the best tight ends in the league that is now going to be utilized even more now that he finally has a quarterback that is very good. Stephon Diggs, Laquan Treadwell, and Dalvin Cook are going to play bigger roles in this offense. This offense this year could be very good. I expect the Vikings to get to 12 wins, win the NFC North, and then they can maybe get to an NFC Championship game again. There's only 2 teams in the damn league that make the Super Bowl. So for everyone who's going Super Bowl or bust for Kirk Cousins, if you win the division again and win a playoff game again, you are doing things pretty damn well. And you have a quarterback now that has the ability to elevate this team to a Super Bowl winning level. You can win a Super Bowl championship with this guy. And the Vikings were decisive. They didn't sit on their hands and knees. They're not going the route of Denver and just plucking whatever trees, that they can pluck. They are making big splashes, and I commend Minnesota greatly for what they have done today.